Okay, so we were talking about reading external files. Okay, and yesterday we started talking about .txt file, how to read txt file. We have seen how to read and write to a file, correct? So there are few other methods, functions. Those are methods, right? A part of your file pointer we'll see today. So yes, so first of all, what we need to do, we need to open, right? Open a file, you give the file name. So I'm going to give file name as the same one which we used yesterday, abc.txt. So I'm going to say test1. This is relative path, right? So /abc.text. And we will open this in read mode, let's say. Okay. And then we will say here, file PTR something. Okay. And once you open it, okay, even this R has to be within quotation. Okay. And once you open it, you need to close it. So we will say close. Okay. Now we are open in R mode. So obviously you can't write to it. Okay. You can't write to it. So what we will do here is we will do read. We'll do read line and we will do read lines and see what happens. Okay, so I'll say content equal to file ptr.read, right? And you can say print content of the file is, and /n, and you give content. Now what I'll do is I will try to read this again. Okay, I'll read it again. So this is your first time you're doing it, and second time I'm doing it. Okay, let's read this and see what happens. Okay, so see, first time it has read it successfully. Okay, this is the first content, right? Now you see, second time when you're trying to read, it's not reading, it's not printing anything. Why do you think would be the reason?
We didn't close the file, right?
We didn't close the file. So what happens?
I think
Okay, so what happens? I tell you to read the book. Okay, so you'll start from page 1, 2, 3, and you will read 300 pages. Now again, I'll tell you to read the book. So because first time you have already read 300 pages, right? You are at 300th page now. There is nothing else to read. You got it? Right? So first time I told you to read, so you will read whatever. I didn't tell you to read only 5 pages or 10 pages or 100 pages. I told you to read. Read means read everything. So once you have read everything, now again, if I tell you to read, you'll say there's nothing else to read. I have read everything. Correct? So this is why second time when you try to read, it gave nothing. There's no content here. Okay. Now, there is an option here, okay, called as seek, file seek. Seek is like a pointer. Okay. I will say here, file ptr dot seek. Okay. And I'll change it to 0. 0 means I'm telling you to go back to the first position. If I say 10, I'm telling you to go back to the 10th character. Okay. So you read it full. Now I'm saying, okay, seek 10. That is okay. I need to go to the 10th character. You went to the 10th character. Now if I tell you to read, okay, so what happens? Twinkle, you are not reading. Why? Because I told you to read, go from 10th character, isn't it? So 10th character means you have space, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right? So see? Okay, so 10 means from 0 it will go, right? So it covered TW, and you see you only have inkle little star. Okay, so you have read it from beginning, you have gone to the end. Now I'm asking you to go back to 10th position. So now from 10th position only you are reading it. Okay, so you can move the pointer just like moving to the page, right? Go to the first page, go to the 10th page, go to the paragraph, first paragraph, third paragraph. So I'm trying to move this the way you would do to any file pointer. Okay, so seek is to move things around. Now this time I will read only 30 characters. Okay, so I'm saying read only 30 characters. So 30 means you are reading, see, from 10th position you're reading 30 characters. Okay, so you are starting from 10th position and you're reading only 30 characters. This is what 30 would mean here. Makes sense, right? Okay. Now again, if I try to read, now you see you are at how I wonder, right? So if I tell you to read, you will read from after like wonder. So how I wonder is here. Here it says what you are. And now again, I'm saying 30 characters. So it is reading only next 30 characters. Okay. So you can choose to read number of characters that you want. You can move around using file seek. If I say file seek 100, from 100th character only, you are going to read it. Okay. So this is one important feature here where you can move around the file. Now, what I'll do, I will reset. That means I will go to seek 0. I'm saying you to go to the first character. You are reading from first character now. So you have something called as read line. Okay. You have read line. Now, when I say, I want to paste it here. I'll give a blank here. Content file pointer dot read line. Okay, read line, nothing. Now, here I will say one line or something. Okay. Now, when you read it, you see it says twinkle, twinkle, little star. Read line means you are reading one line only. Okay. You can read maximum of one line. Now, if I try to read again, since you have read the first line, if I try to read again, you will get second line. Isn't it? You get second line. Okay, twinkle, twinkle, little star is read by here. And how I wonder what you are is being read by line number 19. Now here, instead of giving nothing, I'll give, let's say, 5. If I give 5, that means I'm telling to read only 5 characters. How space I, 5 characters are read because I'm telling you to read only 5 characters. I'm asking you to read only 5 characters. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. How I wonder. So 5. Now, if I say 5,000, 50,000, that means I'm saying read up to 50,000 characters. But remember, this is read line. Read line cannot read more than one line at a time. So even if you say 50,000 and that line has, let's say, only 30 characters, you can read only 30 characters or 40 characters, whatever the number of word is there. Okay. Now read line reads everything. So if you give 5,000, it will try to read 5,000 irrespective of now how many rows or how many lines it has to get into. But read line has access to only current line. It cannot read beyond the current line. It cannot read beyond the current line. So you will only, it will only read the number of characters that is there maximum in that line. Is that good? Okay. Okay. Now you have something called as read lines. Okay. Now read lines. Now read lines will read all the lines, but it will, okay. What it says, line number 23, content equal to, okay. Let me reset it to seek 0. And then let me see why this error has come. Oh, we closed it, right? We should close it later, right? Okay. Okay. So you see here, you have twinkle, twinkle, little star, /n, because we gave new line. How I wonder what you are. So it is read the entire content line by line as a list. As a list, it has read it. So you can read the entire content as it is. You can read each line if you want to. You can read each line as a member of a list. And of course, you can apply for loop. We have seen how to use list in using for loop, right? You can use for loop to read these content. Make sense?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so this is about read lines, and read. Now we will open this file again and we'll talk about write. Okay, so let's say you have here W. Okay, and we'll talk about write. And write and append, okay, is the same thing. Okay, same as append, just that operations are same as append. Okay, not the functionality. Operations same as append, only with that difference. If you do, it will keep on appending. Okay, write will write it from beginning. It will delete everything that is there, right? That's the only difference. But our focus is how to perform write line and write lines. Okay, so to write again, let's close the file first. I think file is closed now. Okay, so now write. So let's say I create a content. Baba black shape. Okay, and we'll put triple quotation. What is that rhyme? Baba black shape. Do you have any wool? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 3 bags full. Let's see. Let's say this is the content I want to add. Okay, so of course you can add file ptr dot write, and you add this content here. Now, when you run it, okay, if you go here, ABC, you see Baba Black Sheep has been added. Now, when you so this read is read before, correct? So it was reading whatever the earlier content was. Now, if you run it, you will get Baba Black Sheep only, right? Okay, so this is how you can, write content to a file. Write line is like writing a line to it. Okay, so in fact, you do not have write line here because write line, whether it is one line or multiple line, is the same thing, correct? So you'll say write lines. So how do you say write lines? You will say content equal to list. Okay, so see, read lines will read as a list. So write lines will also go as a list. So let's say you want to give 4 lines. Hello there, slash. And if you don't give slash n, it will put it in the same line. How are you doing? Slash n. I'm fine. Doing awesome. Whatever. Okay. Now when you, okay. So this is content. And see, this is the list. It has multiple lines. So in that case, we will say write lines. And when you run it, okay, now let's go and see what happens here. Baba, Black Sheep, do you have any three bags full? This is coming from the right. Hello there is coming from the next one, right lines. So if you want it to be new line, you can put a slash n here. Now when we run it, okay, so see, ABC has got these things added. So this is how your read write works. So you have read line, read lines, read and write and write lines. Now, if you want to, so this is the content, right? If you want to write one line, then what do? You don't say content, you just say content of 0. Content of 0 will go as 1, right? So you can decide how you want to write it. Okay. So with that, we complete our discussion on reading and writing to a file. Okay. You can develop a project here, but that's not the right, best way to do it, because the reading data from a database is better, easier, faster, efficient than writing to a text and then reading it. But sometimes you'll have to read some text, isn't it? So write program, okay, to create a what do I say? To store a game score data, right? So user will enter who scored what, like cricket score. Okay, so it's a mini project. You can try over the weekend and show me if you can do it. Right, okay, mini project. Write a .text file based storage program to store data about Indian batsmen. Okay, for the World Cup 2023 and pick up the highest score of each player through the Python code. Okay, so that means you will write, let's say this is Rohit. I'm talking only batsmen, so you can take top 5. Rohit, Gill, say Rahul, Iyer, and let's say Virat. Okay, let's say these are your 5 players. Now you have to store the scores, but you have to remember which data is, which data you need to store. So see, I'm talking about highest score of each player, right? So let's say in first match, Rohit made 43, Gill made 53, Rahul made 21, Iyer made 5, and Virat made 86. Let's say this is the first match. Now, when you're adding second match information, now Rohit made, let's say, 33. If Rohit made 33, then you will not be saving this data. Okay? Because 43 is the highest, which is already the high, 43 is highest. So you will not be changing it. Now, let's say if Gill made 55, then you will replace after match 2 only this. So you'll replace with the highest value so that you can run the program to get the highest value for each player. Make sense? Do you understand what I'm saying? Store, player, and their highest score. Okay. Okay. So we'll continue. So this was, reading external file, txt file. Now, in our next program, okay, our next section will do again reading external file, but this time let's read CSV file. Now, to read text file, you don't need to import anything. Okay, you don't need to import any module because the open, close, and the file pointer option is there automatically. Okay, it's available for us to use without using any import. Now, what we will do is, okay, to work with CSV, okay, to work with CSV, we need to import a module called CSV module. And read and write that we're going to talk about is part of our CSV module. Okay. So you say here, import CSV. Okay. Now, here also we don't have any CSV file. So we're going to create CSV file. So to create CSV file, we have to open it in the W mode, right? Write mode. Correct? So, okay. So, taking a sip of water. Okay. So here also we need to open a file pointer. So whenever you are dealing with external thing, we need to have a pointer which will point us to that location where we want to go or where we want to work. So file pointer, you say open. Okay. And open what file? So since it is a CSV file, we will say open CSV file. So we'll put we will put, we'll say test1 / abc.csv. Okay. CSV. And okay, one thing you have to add here is called delimiter. Okay. Now CSV means comma separated file, isn't it? So comma separated values. Okay. So all the values in CSV will be comma separated, but sometimes you can choose to separate it using semicolon, pipe. Okay. these are also used, and we call them as we will call them as CSV file itself. Okay, doesn't matter whether it is comma separated or it is semicolon separated, but it has same meaning, right? So if your file is comma separated, then you say comma. If your file is semicolon separated, you say semicolon, or pipe separated, you say pipe. Okay, so we are saying, okay, now we need to close it as well, isn't it? So I'm going to say file pointer dot close. Now, since this is CSV file, we cannot simply say file pointer dot read. In this case, we are trying to write it, right? So, okay, mode, again, we have to give mode, right? By default, if I don't give mode, it will do read, right? So if I try to read it like this, okay, if I try to run it like this, you see, oops. Okay, my bad. Okay, here we don't give, I'm sorry. Okay, that's why it's giving error. Later we will have to give, sorry, not with open. Now you see when you try to write it, it says no such file or directory. Okay, because, okay, we are reading it by default and that file is not there. So I'm going to say mode equal to write. Okay, now when you run it, okay, it has created abc.csv. Okay, now we will first do the write operation because file is anyway not there. So we will see how to write to a CSV, and then we will try to read it from the same CSV after we write to it. So so how do we write? Okay, so this is your file pointer, correct? So you will say here file pointer CSV. Okay, because this is in CSV, so we cannot use directly file pointer. We have to use something else. We have to use CSV file pointer. Okay, you want to write, so you'll say CSV. Okay, this is the module CSV dot writer. CSV dot writer. So this is where we are writing. This is how you will write by calling CSV dot writer. First, we need to pass the file pointer because it needs to know, right, which file to write. So that information will come from file pointer, the previous thing that we have opened. Now here you will say delimiter equal to semicolon. So you're writing with comma as a delimiter. So when we write any values, it will be like like comma, right? So values will be separated using comma. Now when we write here, you see first, okay, first we'll have to write the column headers. Okay, so we'll take similar example that we were trying to do in the project. So we will take first serial number, name of the player, okay, name, country, and let's say highest score. 4 columns we want to add. Okay, so file, you have this, right? Now this is to connect to CSV file. To actually write, you have to say file pointer CSV dot write row and write rows. Write rows will take information in list. Here you have to give individual values. Okay, so write row. Okay, now you give an individual value. So this is the list. Okay, so I can talk about header, something like this. So header, we said, okay, first we want to have serial number, then we want to have name, then we want to have, let's say, country, then you want to have, let's say, highest score. Okay, so you put here, directly put header. The header has been added. Okay, now Now we'll create information, let's say. Info equal to list, and it is list of list. So we will add, let's say, 4 players information. So first player, we will say serial number 1, name Rohit, India, highest score 43. Okay, so this is your 4, this is your 3, this is your 2. Virat, here, and here we'll say 67, here let's say 93, here let's say simply 4. Okay, so these are your values. Now to write to this, okay, we will use a for loop better, and we'll read each value from info. So we'll say for I in info. So I will be first value, then second value, then third value. Okay, and here I'll say file CSV dot writer row, and you give I. Okay, that's it. I think it should work. Let's run it and see. Okay, now we will go and test1.csv. So see, you got name, serial number, name, country, highest, all these values you got. Now, if you want to open this in with Excel, of course, we can open this with Excel. Let me take you there. D Python programs. No, I think it's in C. C users HP Python projects, Python project. Okay, this is the location. And in the test, we have ABC. Okay, now let's see this data. You see this? Everything, got in its own place, right? Country and highest score, we have got. Okay, so everything is good except that there's a blank space which is coming in here. Isn't it? How to handle the blank space? How do you remove the blank space? So when we are writing, okay, we need to say that when we are writing, we need to say that the blank spaces should be removed. Okay, so I'll take you to the program first. Okay, and Okay. So what happens when you have a new line? Okay, and because the text that we added have a new line, right? Has a new line. So you say here new line equal to blank. Okay. Now when we do it, oops. Okay, permission done because we have kept it open here. So when file is already open, you can't write it. You can read it, but you can't write it. I'll cancel it. I'll not save it. Don't save. Yeah. Hopefully, this should have removed the blank line. You see this? So new line equal to blank is that when, don't add new line from your side. My data already has new line. All right. So this is how you can write to a CSV file. Isn't it easy? Now, how do you read this? So of course, to read it, we have to open it. Of course, to read, we also need to create this extra step of CSV pointer. Okay, and of course, file pointer should get closed. Now, when you're reading it, we don't have to indicate, of course, you have to say R mode, but this is again not important because by default, it is read mode only, right? That's what we have seen. By default, it is in read mode. New line, we don't have to say because you are reading it. But you need to define the delimiter. Oops, what am I doing here? Delimiter. Okay. Now, so this is a comma separated file. So we have used this. Now you want to read the value. You simply say, okay, the reader, right? Not writer. Reader. Okay. Now you want to display. Okay, so this will have all the data in a list format. So I'll say for I in file pointer CSV print I. You see, entire information is given here. Okay, I want to put only name and the highest score. So if I say I is the entire list, right, of the first value. I want to put only name and the highest. So I is the entire list. So I don't want entire list, but I want first value. Okay, and I want the fourth, which is index 3, isn't it? So you get this. Now, same assignment here. Modify the above program to print the name, print the name and the score of the highest player only. So when you run it, in this case, it should give only Virat Kohli, Virat -93. Okay, this should give you only should display only the row which has the highest score. Try to do it, okay, as part of your exercise. Now, third type of file that we will be doing is called working with JSON file. JSON file is again important because these days most of the data transfer happens through JSON file. So we need to understand JSON file, but if you are a Python educated one guy, then you know that Python, okay, has the JSON is very similar to our dictionary file, dictionary structure, very similar to our dictionary structure. Okay, so We will talk about JSON structure, how to write a JSON, because you might have to write JSON also later. So it is a little lengthy topic. We'll do it tomorrow. That's fine.